This is East Carolina Defense Coordinator Blake Harrell, and you listen to the Sports Objective, the official unofficial podcast of the Pirates.
Well, Pirate Nation, we're getting closer and closer to the start of the 2021 campaign, and Bubba, very excited to have our next guest.
Yeah, Dave, we've had a few guys on for the first time this summer from the East Carolina coaching staff right now. Very excited to welcome in the Safeties Coach, Trip Weaver. Trip, how's your summer going?
Oh, it's going great. We're actually back in the office this week. So we're summer's over and we're cranked up, ready to roll.
You sleeping a lot on the couch, Coach?
I tell you what, we didn't get out of here till about 8 o'clock last night. Got in about 6:30 in the morning. Just kind of getting ready for some guys and hammering up, a few practice schedules for fall camp and putting in your individual and everything else. And on top of that, we got the ladies clinic coming up this Friday, and we got an official visit starting tonight. So yeah, it's been a little bit of a whirlwind.
Coach, one of the things that I've been really impressed with is off the field with certainly with Big John in the weight room. Can you talk a little bit about that with your guys, specifically with the defense in this particular case, with you coaching safeties, how much he's made an impact on your team?
Absolutely. So been fortunate to have worked with Big John before. He was at James Madison University when I worked for Coach Houston up there. And really, him and Coach Houston's mindset is the same. They're on the same plan. They're pulling the same direction. I think for any program to be successful, it has to be that way. So he trains these guys in a manner, exactly how Coach Houston wants them to play. That's with mental toughness. That's with discipline. Things are going to get hard. It's supposed to be that way. And you know what? It's funny. We're here all of June in recruiting. When you see those players every day, you don't quite realize the gains they're making. But then when we left in July, we were away from the guys for about 16 to 18 days. So really 3 weeks of training. And you come back and man, they look completely different. Some guys had to cut weight. Some guys, added some lean muscle mass. You go out there and see those guys run around. Some guys have gotten faster, quicker. He just does a phenomenal job. And I think the number one thing that he does is not only change their bodies. A lot of people can change somebody's bodies by going to work out, every day of the week and all that. But he does a great job with their mental capacity in terms of creating mental and physical toughness, in terms of getting the team buy-in, and in terms of really preaching Coach Houston's plan and initiative to the team. So he does a phenomenal job. We're very lucky to have him. His assistant strength staff, he's got, really 3 or 4 guys that go in there and work with him, and young ladies, and he just does a phenomenal job. So we're very fortunate to have him.
Coach, before we talk about your room, just talk about that association with Coach Houston. It goes back to your days at T.C. Robertson High School in Asheville, North Carolina. You referenced it just a moment ago, the time you spent together at James Madison. But just take us back to those days playing for Coach Houston as a freshman and sophomore at T.C. Robertson and up to present day.
I love telling this story, and I love the fact that I get to tell it and he doesn't, because we have a little different variations of it. So I'll give you mine and then tell you what his is. Coming out of my 8th grade year, Coach Houston was very involved with the quarterbacks. So, 3 times a week at 5:30 a.m., you had to go to the gym and you were working with him on some stuff. So really, I've known Coach Houston a long, long time when I was still a kid, just, trying to learn what I wanted to do, who I wanted to be. My memory of him hasn't changed a lot. He is who he is all the time in terms of, demands effort, demands hard work, runs a clean program, makes guys do things right on and off the field. And really, I think that's why he's been successful everywhere that he's been. But fast forward into my sophomore year, I was getting ready. He had a very, very good varsity quarterback that was a senior leaving, and I was coming up. We had just gone undefeated on the JVs, and we're a really, really good football team. And I was getting ready to set him up so good that everyone saw the program he built that he jumped to the college level. He says we had such a bad quarterback coming up that he left while he still could before his win-loss record went down. But, so we got a little bit different variation on the story. But, and really, if we go back before that, when I was a little kid, 7, 8, 9 years old, I would go to the Mike Houston Youth League camps, kind of like the Greenville Titans run here in Greenville. So it goes way back. Was very fortunate to have him around. So I actually came to East Carolina with the plan of walking on. I was, the unfortunate guy to have 2 Liz Frank surgeries, which, ends a lot of guys' careers, and labral surgery on my throwing arm and a torn rotator cuff on my throwing arm. And, I said, you know what, football is probably not for me anymore. I'm going to get beat up and beat down and, different level. I wasn't probably ready for it, physically at that time. And so I just stepped away for a year. And then I called Coach Houston, really wanted to get into coaching, asked if he had any advice for me. My plan was to be a high school coach. He got me hooked up with a guy named Harold Robinson up here. I'm sure you guys remember Harold. Phenomenal high school coach in the state of North Carolina. Great guy if you've ever got to know him. So Harold got me in here as a volunteer assistant, as a student assistant. That was back when you didn't have any of them. Now we have about 15 guys up here helping, but I was the only one. Greg Hudson was the defensive coordinator. So Rick Smith initially, or Vernon Hargraves initially grabbed me. I helped him. Then Rick grabbed me. Then eventually I got hooked up with Coach Hudson, and just learned so much football from those guys. Fast forward it, Coach Holtz leaves and goes to South Florida. Coach McNeil comes in, from I guess Texas Tech at the time. They just got let go with Coach Leach. He gets the head coaching job here. Really created a bond with Coach Ruff that's lasted my entire life. I mean, we talked just the other day. I was getting ready to graduate, and my wife was getting ready to graduate. She also went to East Carolina, and we were trying to figure out where we wanted to live. So we were going to go back to Asheville. I was going to try to be a high school coach. And, Coach said, well, would you be interested in being our graduate assistant trying to coach college football? He thought I had a future in doing that. And I said, Coach, yeah, I'd love to try it. And so I was here for 2 years in grad school. I tell people all the time, it was really just to be a football coach. And I loved it. We had some great years, and Shane and Justin Hardy and defensively Zeke Bigger and a bunch of those guys, and Terry Williams and Damon Magazoo, who's now coaching. And so my GA years were full of just really good football coaches. I was getting ready to come back for my 3rd year. So it'd been Shane and Justin's senior year. We thought we were going to be very, very good. And then I got a call from Coach Houston asking me if I'd be interested in interviewing. He had just taken the job at the Citadel down in Charleston, South Carolina. So I called Coach Houston. Actually, my flight got delayed. We got stuck in Indianapolis, or Cincinnati, I'm sorry. And the convention was in Indianapolis. So I never got to meet with him. So long story short on that one, I strong-armed my way, and I took a job making, I think it was $15,000 a year to live in Charleston, South Carolina. I slept in the office, but I just wanted to know I'm going to take the job regardless. So I showed up. And he said, what are you doing here? I said, I accept the job. So he's like, well, technically, I don't even have anything ready for you. I hadn't offered it to you. I said, well, I'll take it. So, it's funny. You go from being a kid to him giving you your first job at the Citadel. I was 23 years old, coaching an outside linebacker of mine that was 23 years old. So it was a great experience, probably a job that, I was learning on the run a little bit. We win there 2 years, and then we go to James Madison, and I was fortunate enough, just some circumstances played out where I was the only coach that went with Coach Houston to JMU. So I got to be very involved to see how he built a staff, how he kind of managed a new staff and started a program. And it was phenomenal. I mean, it really was. So I was with him for 2 years. We won a national championship, lost in another one. Got an opportunity to go to Western Carolina. My wife and I are originally from Asheville, so we actually lived there. So went back there 2 years, got promoted defensive coordinator. And then, when Coach Houston called me and asked me if I wanted to come back, there was no chance I wasn't going to take it, come back to East Carolina.
And we're glad you did, Coach. I know with everybody's aware the last 6 years have been difficult at East Carolina with 6 straight losing seasons. Last year, I noticed a big improvement. We were very, very close. If you look at the Tulsa game, which we'll keep our mouths close on that one, and some other games, were very, very close to having a winning season, or certainly 500 and going to a bowl. How close do you think we are to making a bowl this year? And what are your expectations? I know you're going to tell me to win all of them, all 12 of them, but how do you feel about going in realistically about the season?
You know what? The one thing I love about Coach Houston, and it goes back to Big John in the weight room, is we don't shy away from that. Bowl game is our goal. 6 wins is our goal. And we got a tough schedule. We know that. We got a lot of great teams early. We know that. But to get to a bowl game, that's our goal. and we're doing everything in our power right now to get there. The no excuse mentality. It is what it is. And no one cares how hard your schedule is. No one cares. They scheduled this thing, 7-8 years ago. They weren't thinking about a Mike Houston led football team when they made this schedule, and that's fine. So we're ready to roll. Bowl game is our goal. Realistically, with the two coordinators we have on offense and defense, with our special teams coordinator, and then with our talent, we have a very good football program. And I'm really, really excited to get around these guys, and in my room specifically. I love coaching those guys. They're hard workers, no excuse makers. There's a lot of competition, and we don't shy away from it. I think we're close. I really do. I'm not going to sit here and pull a Joe Namath and say, we're going to this bowl, that bowl, and guaranteeing victories. But, we're excited for the challenge.
You talked about the effort, the intensity, the physicality, everything being, what you wanted to be or getting to that point. Earlier in the conversation, you referenced the depth, having guys like Warren Saber, Jaira Wilson, Sean Dorso back, in addition to a lot of other talented players. We'll start off just generally speaking, talk about your room. I know you said pre-interview that you're going to have 14 guys in camp.
Yeah. So, some of those guys will be swing guys. And what I mean by that is they'll train at multiple positions. So I'll kind of start, with those guys going into camp. We'll start with the Sam linebacker, who's kind of a nickel safety for us, kind of a roll down guy. That's where you saw Jaira last year. You saw Tegan Wilkes sometimes. You even saw Warren Saber there sometimes. So just really, really excited about the depth that we have there now. We have Jaira Wilson coming back, had a good season. There's some things that he and I have spoke on that we've got to get better at. And he's excited to do that. He's locked into doing that. Really excited about a guy that came off an injury last year, Gerard Stringer. Just complete 180 in terms of attitude, effort, representing the university the way we want it to be represented, physicality, all of it. So I'm excited to see the camp that he has, and I think he's going to push Jaira. And then, below those two guys, I got another guy that I think is just a really, really good athlete. He's all about the team and physical and can run, and that's Metrius Mooney. I know he was a running back here, and just what a selfless guy. I mean, just unbelievable guy. I don't know if you guys saw it. He got baptized this past weekend. I mean, that's the kind of kid he is. He's a great young man. Will do anything for our football team, and I think he's going to travel. I think he's going to help us. And then rounding it out right there, on that depth chart is Jonathan Coleman. A young man whose brother's a tight end here that we just signed. Jonathan is another guy just like Metrius. He's going to do whatever it is to help this football team, and whether that's special teams, whether that's being on a defensive package, whatever it may be. I've got 4 guys there that you trust, and trust is a word that us coaches guard. You don't just trust everybody as a coach. It's hard to earn trust, and those 4 guys have really done that. So at the SAM position, I'm excited. Going in, I think me and my GA, Coach Spann, are going to grade every practice like a game, and whoever comes out there and practices the best is going to be the starter the next day. And we're excited to see how that competition gets guys better and brings out the best in guys. So feel really, really good about that position. And that's not even counting the safeties we can move down there if we get in some third down packages and stuff. We'll go over to the field safety spot, which is where you saw Warren Saber last year. I believe he started 7 games before he got hurt. So actually going into the, to the fall, Warren had the shoulder injury. He missed the spring, but he is back for fall camp, full go. Been doing great in the weight room, changing his body. When you get hurt a little bit, sometimes you put on a little bit of weight and get a little bit out of shape and all that. But he's done a great job getting back into it, trying to change his body. His football IQ is through the roof in terms of he studies tape. He loves the game. Really, really excited about him. He's a guy that can check every position on the field. So excited to have him. Starting out, he'll be the first guy to trot out there. And then behind him will be 2 guys that really played well against SMU, Sean Dorso and Juwan Powell. They actually started versus SMU, and those guys, are going to move over to that field safety spot, and they're going to battle Warren for it. And I think it's going to be a heck of a battle. I think, 3 guys there that can start. If one's out there, I don't feel any different than if the other's out there. So just really excited to see how they take that opportunity and run with it. That is a position that shows you that we're going to have packages where these guys are going to go play different positions because there's so many good football players stacked behind each other. A 4th guy is David Laney. He actually played some versus SMU as a true freshman in Cincinnati. Did a good job versus SMU. David is a classic freshman. He's going to make a huge jump from year 1 to year 2. He actually had a spring ball. He's actually had an off season. He's actually going to have a fall camp, not interrupted by COVID, hopefully. So excited about him. And then there's a 5th guy in there that we just brought in, Julius Wood. Julius was a junior college guy, and Julius was originally committed to Kentucky coming out of high school. He's an SEC caliber safety, and he can run, he can hit. He's got to learn the scheme. So he's a step behind those guys because he's got to learn it. He's done a great job this spring trying to do it. He was not here for spring ball, but, so there's 5 guys there that can all play. And 4 of the 5 have played, and 3 of the 5 have started. And that's just at one position. Move over into the boundary. It's going to be starting out. 2 guys are going to be DJ Ford, a guy that transferred in and was here this spring from North Carolina. DJ is a lot like Warren, very smart, great football IQ, checks and adjustments, kind of a quiet leader in terms of he does it by action, not by what he says. Really excited what he's got. And, behind him and battling him, it's going to be the same thing on all positions. We grade everyone and play the best guy that day. Is going to be Tegan Wilk. And Tegan had a phenomenal spring. And, Tegan Wilk is one of the hardest hitters on our football team. And the 2 things in our room that we value and are non-negotiables are effort and violence. That's the 2 things we want to see every play. You got to have effort and you got to have violence. And people don't like the violence word in today's, day and age. I guess it's too much for them, but that's the game that we play. If you run and you hit, you can play for us. And so Tegan definitely embodies that. So excited about that. Behind him is Ty Moss. He's a guy that we moved in the middle of the year because of injuries and transfers and stuff like that from receiver to safety. And, Ty Moss is the sky's the limit for his potential. He had to learn how to play defense. He had not played defense since his sophomore year in high school. Body type, his range, everything is prototypical AAC starting safety. So really excited about him. He's going to make a big jump. And another guy that's going to swing back and forth right there between that is going to be Sean Dorso. He started at the boundary safety last year. I believe it was 9 games. So he'll still get reps over there and still kind of get rolling, still play there some. A guy I really think that can cross-train and be valuable to both spots. And then, we got another guy that came in, Devin King from Marshall. He was a transfer that we have. Athletically can do it. It's always a transition phase culturally, because the Mike Houston-led football team, culture is important and culture is different. And not everybody has that. If he wrote a book on culture, he'd make a lot more money than he does as a football coach. So he had to learn that. And I think he's learned that in the spring. And I'm excited to see, fall camp, what he's got. So I know I threw a lot of names at you right there. You guys are going to be writing them down, trying to figure it all out. And we're going to be doing the same thing. These guys are going to battle and try to get on the field. And Coach Harrell is a freaking phenomenal defensive coordinator. I think everybody got to see that last year with what he did. He uses those guys' strengths. So there'll be packages where, Jair and Gerard are on the field, and maybe Mooney's blitzing as a linebacker and Warren's at the Sam. And there's no telling. And just the talent that we have, we're really excited about. Now you got to get that talent to pull in the same direction. And that's going to be really what we focus on, early in fall camp, getting ready for Appalachian State. So know it was a lot of names, know it was long. Hope you guys got some notes on it, but we're excited for fall camp.
Coach, a couple of quick follow-ups. You talk about Metrius Mooney making that move over to defense from running back. Obviously, he was very good at running back, but it's great to hear the transition is going well. And just in this day and age of college football, it's great to see, a young man embrace that and embrace what's best for him and also the football team instead of just immediately entering the transfer portal. And then also what you were saying about Warren Sava and his, commitment to film study. I think back to that Georgia State game last year, and even though that game didn't go anywhere close to where we wanted it to go, I think to that pick 6 on the initial play from scrimmage where he had to slow down in order to pick it off.
Well, you know what? So we'll start with Demetrius. Yeah, he's phenomenal in today's day and age. You got to recruit the right kind of guys, because there's the NIL, and some guys are making money and some guys aren't, and then they can leave whenever they want. And it's hard today because, everyone talks about process. Nobody likes process. Process doesn't happen overnight. Process is something that's, weeks, months, years long. And everyone wants instant gratification. Demetrius is not that guy. Demetrius is a pirate. Demetrius is excited to represent our university, wear the purple and gold. And I do. I trust him. Demetrius is the kind of guy that you want in the foxhole with you. If I was going to go down an alley, I'm bringing Metrius Mooney, because I know he's going to bring everything he's got. And I tell you what I'm excited for, and I'll tell him this. He knows that I'm going to be very disappointed. And I told him the other day on the field, if he's not the first guy down there on kickoff versus App State, knocking the piss out of somebody, I'm going to be pretty upset, because that's the kind of guy he is. So really, really excited about him. Warren Saber, we talked about his film study. That's what makes him play fast. And he's a football guy. He was actually at the Pittsburgh Steelers training camp yesterday, sending videos to the group, pictures to the group, stuff like that. He's great. And he knew it, after he comes on the phone and said, yeah, I saw the canyon split at number 2. He was on the ball, 3 was away. I knew the slant was coming, RPO slant, just little things that we put in the scouting report, not to get too technical with it. He's someone that internalizes it. So like you said, he had to slow down. I mean, he just rolled down. He knew it was coming. Now if they'd run a slant and go, we might've been in trouble, but his study really showed that, that it's important to him. And so I'm excited about that. I think he'll take it to a whole nother level. And I'm excited to see him bring that to 2 other guys behind him, Sean Dorso and Juwan Powell, because if they will steal that from Warren in his last year as a Pirate, I mean, those guys' careers will really take off here. So really excited about him.
Definitely excited about the defensive side of the ball. Coach, you always hear the cliche. It's one of the biggest cliches in all of sports. Defense wins championships. Talk about the importance of Coach Blake Harrell. We've already had him on the show. We like him a lot. Like the fact he's a defensive coordinator. Can you talk about working with him?
Yeah. So, the old adage, defense wins championships, you build a team around it, and one that goes with that is you got to stop the run. You got to run the football. And, so all those 3 things kind of all go together. And if the offense scores 99 and they score 100, we still lose. We believe in that. I think Coach Houston recruits in that. Obviously an area we had to improve on, as far as Blake goes. I mean, I don't think people realize what he had to do during a COVID year. I mean, he had a bunch of new coaches. Fortunately, Blake, Roy, Tesh, and I had all worked together before, and obviously Coach Houston running this defense. So there was a lot of familiarity with us, but there was new guys involved and new players involved. And when you can't go out and practice, during COVID, that install takes a big hit. That culture piece of how, not what you play, but how you play it, takes a big hit. And just the fact that he was able to get those guys to improve and buy in and play hard and play with intensity and play with passion. I don't know if you guys were at the SMU game. I don't even know who they allowed in there, but I mean, just the energy and passion and intensity that he gets the guys to play with is unrivaled. He does a phenomenal job with that. That's probably the biggest thing I've learned coming to work with Blake, him as the coordinator, is how he runs his unit meetings, how he runs his Friday night meetings before the game, without giving away all of his secrets. It's just unbelievable. And so he does a great job working for him. You wouldn't know Blake was the defensive coordinator here. I mean, he is just a down-to-earth guy, not an ego guy, hard worker. If you want to beat him in the office, you got to get in here early. And, once everyone's input and handles the room very well, Coach Houston's a defensive guy. So, I mean, as far as carrying out Coach Houston's vision of the defense, does that very well, which is an overlooked skill. But, really, I have no complaints in working with Blake. And it really has been phenomenal and great guy. And as an East Carolina graduate, we're lucky to have him.
Yeah, you talk about the energy on the sideline for that SMU game. I was fortunate to be there that day, one of the 3,500 or whatever at Dowdy Ficklin. But yeah, that was tremendous. And I know it's something that DJ Ford referenced after choosing East Carolina. And he just said, I thought our sideline was nuts at North Carolina. And he said, you guys are crazy.
Yeah, no question. And now that's how you got to play the game. Playing defense is hard. The days of playing 50 plays and stopping the I formation and, power counter ISO are done. Teams go fast and they motion all around and they're running trick plays and they're doing this. And as a defensive backs coach, I'll tell you every freaking call is a defensive pass interference, but it's hard. And so you've got to enjoy and embrace that challenge. And I think you saw it from those guys. And I think you really saw the culture shift defensively, come to a head right there at SMU. And I think that's what we're most excited about is bringing that energy. And Coach Harrell calls it juice, bringing that juice to Bank of America Stadium on Thursday night.
Talk about working with Steve Ellis. Obviously, you're the safeties coach. He's the corners coach. He came over from South Florida. Really brings that shark mentality, as we always see on social media. So just talk about the way you guys work hand in hand within the scheme of the defense and that shark mentality.
Yeah, Steve is great. One thing that's when you split a secondary, as a coaching staff, and you have to have two guys that are on the same page. You can't have any egos, and you've got to be able to have hard conversations on how you're doing things, why you're doing things. And Steve and I, we're salt and pepper. We get along great. Peanut butter and jelly. We're in there together. Consider Steve a really, really good friend. When he first came in here with that shark mentality, I don't know if he got it from the Ole Miss Land Sharks. I know one of his mentors was the defensive coordinator there, what it was. But he started doing it at a 5 a.m. team run and putting his fin on his head and making some crazy noise. And I tell you what, the kids loved it. And you know what? And so they've kind of really embraced that. And now they run around doing it. The whole defense does it. And you know what? As long as they run and hit and keep that the main objective, you know what? I love it. I'm all about it. And Coach Harrell is too. And so, really appreciate Steve bringing that into the group because it has made a difference in terms of just players' confidence and how they want to represent themselves and how they want to play. The shark always attacking mentality. You don't sleep. You always work. You're always on the hunt. It's great. I've really enjoyed it. And yeah, Steve is the mastermind behind that. You need to ask him the sound a shark makes next time you get him on some kind of Zoom call or something.
Coach, let's talk about your time back with Coach Holtz. And I know you've talked about your time with Coach Hud, with Greg Hudson. Can you talk about, and then with Ruff and Rick Smith, can you talk about what you've learned under those guys? I know we only have a few minutes left before you have to go, but can you give us some kind of a thumbnail sketch of what you learned from those guys?
Absolutely. So with Coach Holtz and his staff, the one thing that I learned from Coach Holtz is his organization was very good in terms of he had a plan for everything that he did. He from the wake up call of the players on Friday or on Saturday morning, giving them a paper and some orange juice and making sure they were rolling. I mean, he always had a plan for everything. Followed his father's plan a lot in terms of some of the team goals and the 7 things you got to do to be a Pirate and win the game and so on and so forth. So that was great to learn from him. Greg Hudson, the intensity. I mean, that guy, he's an intense guy, and it's awesome. And you know what? You got to coach defense with intensity, and you got to get your nose bloody and your face in the fan to play defense. And just seeing somebody coach that way every day was instrumental to me, kind of growing up and learn how I wanted to coach. And so I love that. A guy that was there that was the same exact way was Rock Rogan. Coach Rock he's the freaking man. I love Coach Rock. He was intense, but he loved his players and his players loved him. And, it just shows you that now you can coach them hard, but you got to love them hard, because that way that dog will go fight for you. He'll go hunt for you. So really learn that from him, learn the passion of the game. You can't have a 9-to-5 job and win football games. That's hard to do. And Rock really showed that. He was all about it. So very fortunate to be around him. Vernon Hargraves is on that staff. Vernon Hargraves was a relate to the players kind of guy. Still talk to Vernon. Love Vernon. Vernon is a phenomenal football coach. He's actually at Howard University right now, but just learning how to manage personalities. He probably was the best. He had a lot of guys, especially after Coach Rock got sick, that were NFL defensive linemen, and he managed the rotation, and he managed to keep everybody happy. And that's a skill, that's easier said than done. And then, you go to Rick, a lot of the fundamental teaching, old school teaching, whether it's tackling, block destruction, whatever it may be, keeping it simple for the kids, compartmentalizing when you teach. Each guy brings something to the table that you learn. And then, Coach Ruff, I mean, golly, just the phenomenal Pirate that he was, the person he was, how much pride and passion he had in the university. And then, you know what, he was a no excuse guy, and he loved the players and taught you how to treat them. But if you love them, you can demand a lot from them. And he was able to do that. And so I learned that from him as well. But, just really fortunate. Obviously I'm with a phenomenal staff with Coach Houston and have been for a while with these guys. It's just, as a young coach, as you continue to climb the ladder and work your way up and, get better and better jobs, you really fall back on all the good experiences you had from those great coaches. And I've been very fortunate in that aspect to be around a lot of guys that are great football coaches.
Coach, take us away from football a little bit. What are some of your favorite hobbies? And then I know you're a big fan of sup dogs, but talk about visiting sup dogs now that you're married. It's a little bit different than back in
yeah. So, favorite hobby. I tell you what, anytime I can get on the water, I think that's why I'm really a pirate. Coach Harrell bought a boat this year, and shoot, any chance he was willing to take me out, I was ready to go out there fishing and ride around. And big beach guy, love the beach. Eventually win some football games and get some bowl bonuses. Maybe I can go get me a beach place at some point in time. We got to start winning some bowl games first, but. So that's really my hobby. I love being on the water. I love being out, just kind of that beach environment. I do play golf some. I try to. I'm not very good. Usually I go out with Coach Houston's when I go, and he beats me by about 10 strokes, and it pisses me off, and I don't go back for a little while. But, so I enjoy doing that. On the water, we fish a good bit too. But and then football, that's my thing. I really do. It's fun to work in something that's not considered work. When it's your hobby and your passion, then it's not really work. So that's kind of where I'm at. In terms of sup dogs, going back with the wife, she used to go there back in school too. It's changed a lot. I'm not going to go into too many details on a podcast on what she used to go there for. It wasn't the food, but now I guess they got an outdoor dining area and all that. We go and sit down and eat hot dogs and hamburgers, and usually see a lot of people that I know in there. So I think our habits are a little bit different than they were in college once we get inside the door. But great place. They're very big supporters of us, help us out in official visits and stuff like that. So it's always great to go back and see those guys.
Hey, and Coach, those last couple questions, those were from one of our loyal listeners who also happens to be one of your good friends, Daniel Leyva. And I told him I'd get those in for him.
Yeah, well, Daniel, he's something else. Don't patronize him now, because he'll bug you all the time now. But he's a great friend, great pirate. He was up at the house for the 4th of July. He and his wife, two of the best people you'll meet in the world. He's a pirate. We graduated together. Known him a long time, but he'll be about at every game this year. And I know he probably gave you some other questions trying to get me to slip up and say something on air. So I appreciate you guys filtering those out for me.
No doubt. Coach, thank you so much. You're a great interview. We would love to have you back on. Certainly with the season coming up, we know that your time's limited. And speaking of which, we're going to let you go so you can get to a meeting. But appreciate you coming on, and good luck to the Pirates in 21.
Guys, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it. And, be glad to come on anytime. Really appreciate you.
Hello, Pirate Nation. This is Luke Fisher, Hall of Fame tight end from the Peach Bowl. I want to send much love to the Pirate family and all my brothers and sisters out there that bleed purple and gold. I can truly say that I believe this will be our year. Our guys will put the time in and make it happen. The one question I have is, will you believe?